started. My name is Edouard. I'm the head of Artefact here in China. Very happy to welcome you here in Laughouse. So it's a bit of a special day. And for those who did not notice, it's a special day because of data and because of numbers. So who had a look at today's date? And many of you have seen this. 2021, December 2nd, it's a perfect symmetry. So if you draw a line here, it's a perfect symmetry of both numbers. And people say in China, it's a lucky day. So very happy to welcome all you on a very lucky day today. What we'll do together, I'll make a very brief introduction on Artefact, where we stand today, and then I'll deep dive on why data is becoming critical for luxury. We'll then announce a bit how other companies are addressing one challenge, which is to understand who these luxury consumers actually are and how data can help. Many of you have CDPs, consumer data platforms. Our guess is half of the room has one, half of the rooms do not have one yet. And of this half of it is thinking, should we have a consumer CDP? We'll share some lessons learned on that topic of the past 12 months. And we'll have a panel discussion. So the team who will be presenting for the panel, we'll have people, Wendy from LVMH, Sheng from Porsche, and Aurélie from Saint Laurent. So we'll start the panel in exactly 30 minutes. And on our side, this is the group of people who are very happy to share with you and present a bit where we stand. So 2 words on the company. Artefact, we are a service company specialized in data and digital. We're the combination of 3 worlds. We're the combination of consulting, cracking the problem, data, technical skills, data scientists, data engineers, and digital. We need to understand this ecosystem in China. One important news, so we started 2015. In the summer, 2 private equity firms said, oh, we believe in you guys. So they took a majority stake of Artefact. So Cathay Capital is one, and Ardian is the other one. So the Artefact now belongs to these 2 private equity firms and to all the partners and managers of the company. What do we do? So I'll try to make it very, very simple. Our core stuff is to build stuff. Our core job is to build stuff. We build data and AI use cases. We build data platforms. We build data models. One example, we've been building for one luxury brand actually here, a propensity model to anticipate and measure which consumers will convert when and what to do about this consumer. Because we build stuff, we're credible to help companies on framing stuff. So we're advising our clients on what is the right way of organizing data talents, what is the right data strategy, what should we collect. One example, we're helping right now one big luxury brand on defining what is the right data organization, what types of data talents, where to put them, how they should work. And obviously many of our clients say, it's great to build stuff, you cannot run stuff, it's useless. So we're able to run our models and run our solutions. So we'll run, for example, all the social engagement using first-party data of our consumers automatically. That's it for who we are. And obviously many of us are here. Mike is here, Arthur is here, Peng Fei is here, Jensen is here. Do not hesitate to talk to us if you have any questions. So I'll deep dive a bit on why data is actually becoming critical. We've spent time with the teams, with our strat planners, with our data scientists, data engineers, to brainstorm and say, okay, what is this story of luxury and data? And to make it very simple, we've summarized it in 10 keywords. So I'll take you through 10 keywords that best tell why data is becoming critical. The first thing is very obvious, and you all know this by heart. Chinese consumers. Chinese consumers will make almost 50% of all luxury buyers over the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, making China the biggest luxury market for sure, by far. The reason behind is this, and this very often resonates with many of our clients and even with ourselves, is why is this? It's very simple. There's 200 million people who will move over the next decade into the middle layer, i.e. becoming wealthier. So there's 200 million people layer that will actually move over the next 10 years and become potential buyers. There's not a single country where this has happened before. There's not a single country where this will happen moving forward. This you know. But here's a complication. Who are these consumers? 30% of the luxury buyers over the next 5 years will be Gen Z. Gen Z, so question for you, who is born after 1995 in this room? Oh, come on, I'm sure there's one or two. After 1995. One. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. We have here a panel of pretty much all luxury brands present in China. There's not a single person in this room who is actually representing the buyers of tomorrow, except one. Thank you, Pierre. What is specific? So two things. These Gen Z will spend on connected, mostly on phones, 175 hours per month connected on the digital platform. Compared to us, all older, 140 hours. And what has really surprised us is this. I don't know about you, but I don't use 10 apps every day. I use probably 5 apps every day. A Gen Z, on average, in a month, will use 30 different apps, 30. Meaning the dispersion of digital connection of these consumers is unprecedented. So, and to understand that, we need to talk to Gen Z folks. Thing is, there's no Gen Z folks in the room. Because of this, obviously, online will be the #1 channel on luxury. I believe these numbers are actually even understated, but these are kind of the official direction right now. One online transaction creates 10 more times data than one offline transaction. Why is that? Is when somebody buys something online, they will, every browsing activity, what they put in the basket, remove from the basket, where they click, etc. All this data can be collected by the brand. Offline, if they buy, they go out, that's done. Sometimes we don't even know they showed up in the store. The Gen Z, we also need to understand who these Gen Z consumers actually are. They are using 30 apps. For example, Tuchao. How does Tuchao work? It's an AI model that feeds, direct personalized feeds, following the interests of these Gen Z consumers. So what are these interests? It comes from aesthetics, craftsmanship, scarcity. There's hundreds of them. Every single digital touchpoint that Gen Z has today on a platform is boosted by these platforms, sending customized content to fulfill their search of curiosity, always in this field, always in their search of interests. So their experience on digital is highly personalized, following their own interest and aspiration. If we as a brand, we're not following and somehow adapting to this mix of interests, we're going to be talking completely plain messages and plain text to the consumers. On all the other apps they have, there's always following a specific interest. Plus, they're expecting a mix of experience online, physical, and offline. And these two words are completely colliding, and I'll come to it. Luxury brands in the next 5-10 years will have no choice of obviously playing in the ecosystem. It's done, you will not have your own full control ecosystem. Brands, in some cases, dreamed about it, but it's not going to be the case. Tmall, Ali, Tuchao, TikTok, whatever. And there's going to be new platforms. Every 2 years, there's going to be a new platform. But there's good news. There's very good news. When you look at all these platforms, there's one who is as open as your .cn or your .com website. That's WeChat. So what does it mean? When you have an official account, when you have a mini program, and the consumer is binded to you, accepted to follow with consent your brand, you will be able to track this consumer on your digital asset as if it was your own website. So in this world where you don't have a share, there's a window. And there's a window many brands are doubling down on to make sure they're collecting their fair share of data through this WeChat ecosystem. What surprises me every single time is I believe in this room there's only 20% of the brands who are collecting their fair share of WeChat data today. Complexity and further challenge, the Gen Z, loyalty decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. So Gen Z, remember, born after 95, when they say they find a brand I like and tend to buy it repeatedly, the announced loyalty is the lowest compared to all the other brands. and the search for trying new things will increase. Going back to the 2 story, if we're not able to push and animate personalized content in line with the expectations, we're never going to be able to keep that loyalty, knowing that from a starting point, they're not going to be loyal. PIPL. Many of you have heard PIPL. Very short, PIPL is fantastic news. It's fantastic news. It's fantastic news for all the people here to basically tell headquarters, we need to take our destiny in our hands because I don't want to go to jail. And that is fantastic. We'll talk about it. The tension on data topics, digital topics between headquarters and China has always been difficult. PIPL is an opportunity to say, well, we need to accelerate in China, and it's becoming mandatory to have our data here. It's becoming mandatory not to send our data outside. There's another aspect of PIPL that is interesting. It creates an obligation for brands to do something with the data. When a consumer gives consent, the brand needs to say why we are asking to get this information. If nothing happens, there's no personalization, no reactivation, etc. At some point, I wouldn't be surprised that these data access will be shut down. So that it creates an obligation for all the brands to say, what do we want to do for our consumers, leveraging this direct connection we have? Tech. There's a few people from L'Oréal in the room. We work a lot for L'Oréal. L'Oréal made a strategic move on tech in 2018, impulsed by Jean-Paul Agon, to say we want to be a beauty tech company, 2018. I haven't heard yet luxury is saying from the CEO level, I want to be a luxury tech. And I think there's huge room here. When we think about the digital tools your teams are having, when you think about the types of data products we can start building, this is exactly becoming a tech company. So I believe many of these brands progressively will need to become more tech, i.e. building tools fast, iterating, testing and learning, using AI systematically, because again, consumers are expecting it. And it has been done before in the industry. The last thing, and to open up, metaverse. So many of you have heard about it. What is metaverse? In short, it's basically pure online world. It's a topic to follow. It's a topic to have in mind. It basically means that some consumers may want to interact with brands, obviously offline, but potentially online, even without a physical product. My bet, I could be completely wrong, is that in some cases, you luxury brands in a few years may be selling products that don't exist even physically. Because at the end, the brand image, the brand power, the status, the experience could be completely digitized, and NFTs, so non-fungible tokens, make this possible, say, this belongs to you, full stop. Very early stage, it's a topic to follow. In a few years, I could be riding my very expensive, non-existing Pinarello bike that doesn't even exist, but on a Swift biking app, everybody knows this guy has a really, really expensive bike. Could happen. That's it for the 10 words. Obviously, many of these topics we'll come back to in the panel. I'll let the scene to Mike to take us through a bit Lighthouse.
Thank you, Edouard. I think the reason we have a Lighthouse, and obviously we're sitting in a Lighthouse here tonight, the real reason behind it is we got a lot of questions from brands. They ask, why my conversion is so low? Why my media ROI is so low? And more importantly, I know who is buying my product, but I don't know who is not buying my product. Why did it drop off? So there's a lot of questions here. And then we all go back to that. We should always go back to consumers. Right? We start with consumer, we end with consumers. And we've been looking for a solution in China. And how do we know their purchase journey, their customer journey? How consumer make decision? How consumer research your brand? How consumer switch brands? And how consumer drop off from your purchase funnel? So we launched a Lighthouse with a partner to address questions. So how does the Lighthouse work? A few things, right? We said the Lighthouse will address the challenge of the omnichannel experience, right? We want to understand when the consumer search on Baidu, go to Red, read the KOL comment, go to your website, drop off, go to the competitor, go to offline, talk to the sales associate, and go back online and purchase. We want to know every single click, every single behavior, and what they think, how they behave on digital, and how they think in their mind. So the Lighthouse will leverage the technology we have from the third-party data, combine if you have a strong first-party data to really understand the consumer insights. I give example here, right? So the first-party data we have from a lot of brands, you have a user data, transactional data from different sales channels. And also, some brands will have a bit of media touch point, where they were exposed, when they click, when they come to your property, and they engage with you. And however, a lot of brands don't know, how can I put my effort into something outside my own property, right? Before they come to my mini program, where do they land? How can I intercept? Before they come to my store, where did they do research? How can I talk to the consumer? So with the Lighthouse, what we did is we will have a continuously tracking of real consumers in a panel. Aside the panel represent only luxury shoppers in China. And this is one of a kind in this market. How we do this? We will install a tracking device of the people who agree with us to track every single behavior on their mobile phone. So we will know exactly how many times you open your WeChat in the office hour, and we will know exactly how you browse your Taobao app from the homepage all the way to the shopping cart. With the behavior data, it's not enough. We can also send surveys to the consumers in the panel to ask for why you did this, why you click 7 times before you come to my site, why did you browse this KOL and read the comment, why is this impacting your decision. So this will be the Lighthouse technology. And the cool thing about this is we will recruit users on full consent. That means if they have full knowledge that their behavior data will be tracked, that's number one. Number two, we can cap the frequency and the scope. So that means we can recruit target customers. So we want the luxury shoppers in the tier 1 city, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. We can limit that. We can also recruit users represent your customer base. So you say, I want 40% female. Then we can have 40% female in the panel. And also important is you have an exclusive in-app behavior data. Because a lot of times when brands working on e-commerce pop out, you only know your own flagship store behavior. Maybe you know their media behavior data directly to your site, but you have no idea how consumers start their journey in the Taobao app. So you have full visibility of that. And then there's a granular, because it tracks every single click, every single day, real time. And it's processed in the what we call the AI-driven model to be more accurate on this. So in short, in this, you will know who are the consumers, in the sense, for your brand, and where and how they spend their time. We know exactly how often you go to the app, how much time you spend, and how they purchase online and offline with the survey help, and more importantly, what impacts their decision with the behavior data and the survey data. So this is just examples of this. So we built this tool that can be customized for every single brand. That means yes, the real data can be processed in a dashboard. So you go in, you will say, okay, I want to know, Gen Z living in Shanghai, how they behave in the last month, which are the most important app, how they spend their time. And also in this one, you say I want to have a broader view of the touch points, right? You will see what's the most the high rising app in the last 6 months, and we should focus on that. And interesting, you will know very detailed path to purchase, click by click. The bottom one, it is a screenshot of a Taobao app. So you know exactly the decision tree all the way down to your store or to your competitor store in this case. And to be very quick on this, a little bit bonus on the Lighthouse. We start with the standard dashboard to track your panel, to understand all the behavior data with the survey data. Also, we can do ad hoc to do the path to purchase, easy touch point. And more importantly, for the tagging, I want to highlight this because a lot of brands come to us and says, I have very limited data with my consumer. I can only create so many tags. This can be enhanced with the panel data. So this is a quick introduction by Lighthouse. Any questions, you can come to us and we can talk further. And then I will pass to Arthur, talk about the template about the CDP.
Okay, thank you, Mike. All right, so for the last few minutes, we've been mostly talking about third-party data, right? Leveraging the Lighthouse, and you can get some consumer insights, and they're very important for the Gen Z insight and also for the business. Now, I think in terms of the next step, we would like to share some insights on the first-party data. So when we're talking about first-party data, the very first notion comes to everybody's mind will be this word, CDP, right? Consumer Data Platform. And as Edouard just mentioned, I believe in this house, like 50% of the brand are already having a CDP, and the other 50%, half of them are considering to build a CDP, probably. So very often we see this question has been raised. When you have the CDP, so now what, right? How would you better leverage the CDP to maximize the value of your consumer data? Either it's from first-party data, second-party data, or collected from third-party data to consolidate in your CDP. So in the following few minutes, me and Other would like to share some of the convictions we have. When you have the CDP, what should we do? So a quick reminder on CDP, right? Consumer Data Platform. As you can see, it's an infrastructure that allows you to collect all the different data touch points with the consumer data. And as we just mentioned, the WeChat ecosystem is a super, super important part of the data. As we can see from most of the CDPs, in terms of the data size and also in terms of the richness on the data, the WeChat ecosystem is really the gold mine here. So especially when you look at all the different touch points here, these are the owned parts, right? So from first party, you have your own offline .cn and your call center. But in terms of the WeChat, you can not only just collect the transactional behavior, but also the other behaviors like click, like view, like the time they spend on these touch points and how their journey is, jumping between the different pages. So those are very important parts. Now, after collecting all of these data from the touch points, the idea is to consolidate all the data to have a consumer 360 view, right? So this will including ID mapping so that you'll be able to track the same consumer on different places, and also having a tagging system so that you can have the tag on the different consumers. And these data will most importantly will be leveraged by the different touch points again to be able to have personalized engagement or the more diverse engagement through the different touch points so that you can do the activation. And also we'll be helping with the analytics and reporting so that to generate insights for the business to make better decisions. So as I'm leading the data scientist team in Artefact, I always told my team that we are basically cooks, right? So we are serving the dishes, but our ingredients are from the very bottom line. And our kitchen, most often, will be this consumer data platform or the data platform or the AI platform built on top of it. So the question then will be, now we have a kitchen, now what? So when we're talking about kitchen, I think the first image that you have in mind should be some clean kitchen on the right side. You should not want a kitchen on the left side, right? And that's our first conviction, which is the value of the CDP is really depending on how the data talents could leverage data. How easy can they do, and how good quality can they have in terms of the data. So if you have a kitchen like this on the left side, it will gonna take a lot of time for the cooks to just find the clean data and find where the data is, and to also discuss with the business team and to consolidate the data before they can generate any useful value. Right? And more importantly, I would say that some of the worst cases is when you have the unclean data, the business team was starting to doubt the data's credibility and starting to, not trusting the data anymore, and that will cause a huge damage in terms of the CDP itself. So we all know that we want a clean kitchen, right? So that is why our first conviction is data governance should be the top priority alongside of the building of the CDP, or you need to do it until, before it's too late. Right? And data governance is in a very nutshell, it's really to define the right process, the right policy, to make people to process the data so that you have the data well organized, documented, and easily accessed by the data talents with the right quality. So this is not easy, right? Not as easy as cleaning a small kitchen. So it's really requiring the efforts on, I would say, both the IT side, data side, and as well as the business side, work together on it. Okay, so next, I would like to give the stage to Edouard to share some of the convictions on if we have a clean kitchen, what should we do next?
Thank you, Bengfei. So as Bengfei explained you, when you have a CDP, basically brands as a new opportunity. This new opportunity is to combine much more data than what we are able to do about the consumer in the past. And so this has actually an implication for brands, which is we need to change the way we are looking at the consumer. So before, traditionally, when we are thinking of a consumer, basically we're using what I call descriptive segmentation. So descriptive segmentation, it means we are very much assumption driven. We do our own assumption, we define our own rules to build our segment, and based on this, activate in different ways. Now, as we have our CDP, as we are able to collect all our data into one place, and as well as we have more advanced analytics, AI, machine learning, we can move to what I call predictive segmentation. And so predictive segmentation is not based anymore on our own assumption, it's really the model itself who is able to combine all the information and actually much more information to find who are the most relevant consumers for specific action. So I'll give you an example. Descriptive segmentation, in the past, traditionally, if you wanted to find consumers who are the most likely to convert, you would select consumers who have probably made the biggest purchase in the past, and people maybe with some specific demographics. Now, what you could do is, for example, second purchase propensity scoring model, which is you combine all the data, including how people are behaving on the different digital touchpoints, how active they are, the number of clicks they are doing, the type of click they are doing, and based on this, you combine everything to predict the likelihood of a consumer. And so, by doing so, you are much more relevant and much more precise on how to engage with them. That's conviction number 2. When I talk about data, and especially in luxury, I think there is one topic which is making me more excited, to be honest, which is, I think there is a new playing field which has been opened with Tencent and with WeCom. Because when you think about it, that's basically the only digital touchpoint here in China that allow you one-to-one communication at scale. And with, I would say, personalization at scale. Meaning, tomorrow, what we could do is, same logic, we combine all this data. We have a super smart engine, which is able to define for each individual consumer who to engage, when to engage in, what to push to this person, and how to engage. Because some consumers are more interested in some products, some consumers are more interested in others. The frequency of engagement is different. And all of this, thanks to WeCom, because again, it's the only one touch point that allow you one-to-one automated communication at scale, you could really change the way we are engaging with consumers. And to be honest with you, I think here in China, no one has really cracked it yet. And this is where I see the breakthrough to be done in terms of data, in terms of activation with the consumer. Finally, last conviction is when we talk about data transformation, there is a lot of focus which is being put on building use case. And when we talk about building use case, it's basically building models, you're leveraging AI machine learning. And typically, this use case they are built by data scientists. The reality is we are not going to change an organization only with use cases. What is required to go beyond and really transform the organization is to make data very close to the business. And so to do so, what is needed is actually having data analysts. So data analysts are typically people close to the business, answering business questions, crunching the data, and based on this, making a recommendation. And so when we define data transformation, the same way we usually define a pipeline of use cases to be built, my belief is we should have data analysts having their backlog of business questions to be answered, and then going one by one to go with the business and iterate. One thing is data analysis is new in the organization. And my belief is they will bring value only if people who are today in the room actually take time and iterate. I think we need to accept the fact that these people will bring value through an iterative process. So they need to look at data, they need to find some insight, they need to share, and then they need to have an ongoing loop. And that's the only way to make it happen in my view. So that's our 4 conviction: data governance, moving from descriptive to predictive segmentation, the power of Wecom, and finally going beyond use casing and leveraging data analytics. Thank you very much, and very happy to discuss with you after.
Okay. So I'm going to invite